Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to WTF Live. Mogan Monster here. So glad you guys could make it. Tonight's a special show for me because I've been waiting to meet this woman for a long time. Tonight's guest is Gemini Moon. You guys might know her from chat. You should know her from chat. She's got some interesting stories she wants to share. I don't know what they are, and I told you guys when I made the video the other night, I don't want to know. I just I want to hear it all at the same time with you guys, so we can all be surprised together. I'm really looking forward to this. But without further ado, Gem, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for coming on. I'm thrilled. You know, I've wanted to cover this subject for a while now, you know, just the spiritual or mediumship side, or I don't know what to call it. For a long time, it fascinates me because I've had some odd experiences happen, and, you know, I never really got answers. I assumed I knew what was going on, but we'll find out. So yeah, I want to say hi to everybody in chat. Bomber, Cookie, Chris, Ray. Great to see you guys. Can you see your chat over there?
Me? No.
Yeah. Look on the right of your screen. Is there an option all the way over? It says comments.
Yeah.
Click on that.
Okay, I can see those guys now. Hi, everybody. Good to meet you.
Isn't she, Bomber?
Oh, she's sweet.
So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? These, you know, a lot of people know you, but I don't think they know you, you know.
Exactly. So. Exactly. So I would say that I have been psychic most of my life. Ever since I can remember, ever since I was a very small child. I was also very inquisitive on things. Why is this like this? Nothing made sense to me on this planet. So I would ask my parents these very profound questions. What are we doing here? Who runs the planet? This was about at the age of 4, okay? And when I wasn't really satisfied with their answers, I just go sit in the sun in my driveway, and I would literally get answers coming in my head, which I believed at that time that would be, I consider them now my guides and my teachers. So at a very, very young age, I had that bond with them. And they've led me through most of my life. I think they've saved my life a couple of times.
Wow.
And as long as I stay in contact with that, I'm pretty much centered and balanced, and it feels pretty good. And especially as I'm getting older, I've had so many great experiences with them that it's almost like a team. And I've felt safe in being on the planet with always having their guidance, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I was always like that, but nobody, of course, in my family was like that. So when I would bring up different things to people, there's just no way. They would be like, what? You're seeing what through your eye when you close your eyes? And I would talk to dead relatives. And so after a while, that kind of had to stop, because then you're, you know, processed into school, socialization, playing the role. So sure. I kind of forgot all about it. I really did. For many, many, many years, I forgot all about it. Well, then as I started to get a little bit older, like maybe 21, boom, all my guides showed up in my bedroom again. And I'm like, holy shit, this stuff really is for real. So then I started getting a lot more guidance. And when I started traveling, is when I think that a lot of past lives started really hitting me. And I knew there was much more to this than I ever anticipated. And it was one in particular when I went to London, England, and it was quite a few years ago. But as soon as I landed, I knew I had been there. I knew where everything was. I knew where to go. And I also ended up on the street where Jack the Ripper had his little reign. And I could not go on that street. I got so sick, I could not go on that street, but I didn't know what it was associated with them. It wasn't until many years, not even many years, it was like I went to a psychic after I'd returned from London and told him all about my experiences. And then I got into a group that helped me develop that even further so I could make even more contact. But what I've had so many great experiences. I've had UFO experiences.
Oh, wow.
I've had a couple cryptid.
Do you have YouTube playing on a device there, like with the volume up or anything?
No.
Because I'm hearing an echo and I don't think it's.
How's that? Is that better?
It's only when I talk. No, it seems all right now.
Okay.
All right. Oh, perfect. Sorry.
That's okay. So like I said, I had a lot of, a couple UFO experiences. As a child, I knew they existed, and I knew that my star family was out there. And I remember questioning them, saying, are you going to leave me with these people? Considering my parents, like, are you going to really leave me on this planet with these people? And I had decent parents. I have to be honest. They were really good parents, but they were clueless about things, clueless about, any spiritual. So any question I had to, ask them, they weren't available. So I kind of did develop that all on my own. But I had this one experience that led me back into the cryptids. And this was probably about 4 years ago. Well, I'm going to go a little bit further back. I'm going to go to about 20 years ago. A really good friend of mine, Lynn, lived in Northwest Ohio at the time. And we all know Ohio. So we were leaving her house. I went to go pick her up. And she was just standing at the end of her driveway looking into the woods across the street. And I said, what's going on? She said, look at that tree. And there was just a tree shaking in the middle of a bunch of trees, one tree shaking. And it was a huge tree. And I was like, what's going on? And she said, that's our Bigfoot. We have a Bigfoot that lives in the area. Well, that was the first time I'd ever heard of Bigfoot. Not really ever heard of him, but knew somebody that had experiences. So she had shared a bunch of her experiences. I kind of forgot about the cryptids after a while. And then 4 years ago, I had an experience. I went down to a friend's house about an hour and a half from here. And she lives on beautiful property, beautiful cabin out in the woods. So here I am. I've been there quite a few times. It would be my weekend getaway from the city. And I've always felt really good. I would walk through her property and be able to see monks in the trees and like fairies and angels. And it was very, very, very sacred property. It was pretty cool. So it was nice to experience that. But so one night, her husband goes to work. He's a truck driver. He leaves. And she says to me, hey, do you want to get in the Jeep with me and go down to the barn? And I'm like, yeah, why not? It's about sunset is taking place. So we jump in the Jeep. And as soon as we get about 10 feet from the house, I hear, uh-oh, like in my head, like something's wrong. This is not good. And I felt this energy on this property or around the property like I have never felt before. It was like, holy, uh-oh, there's something major going on. So I decide I'm going to communicate with whatever I am feeling out there to find out what's going on. And this entity, I said, okay, so what do you want? What are you doing here? You know, is there a purpose here? And he literally told me, I've never had anybody tell me this before, but he literally told me he was there to rip my blanking head off. And I went, really? And I've never have experienced anything quite that traumatic. And I thought,
Sure.
no, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm like, I don't know who you are or what's going on, but that doesn't happen in my realm. And so I immediately sent my archangels to him, which I've always used, and it's subdued. He couldn't get onto the property. Whatever this was could not get onto the property. I did not want to alert my friend because she would have just freaked out, beyond freak out. So she's saying, hey, you can just stay out in the Jeep while I go into the barn. I just have to. And I'm like, no, I'm going to come into the barn with you. So I'm in the barn and I'm like almost in shock, but I don't want her to know this. So I hear in my head on the way back, we stayed down there for 5 minutes. I said, let's get out of here. Oh, I have to go to the bathroom. That was my excuse. Let's get out of here. So we jump in the Jeep and I hear in my head, do not sleep in that back bedroom. You're going to have to sleep in the front bedroom tonight. Or if you try and sleep in that back bedroom, you won't be alive tomorrow. And I went, holy shit, what is going on here? So I adhered to what I was told. And I was wondering, hey, why are you guys having me sleep over here instead of back here? And they said that this thing could jump into any animal and would come through that door wall and could get me in a minute. And they wanted me to sleep in the bedroom where the Harleys were up against the windows and nothing could get to me. And I thought, that's very, very interesting. I wanted to leave. I wanted to go home so bad, but I was not going to leave my friend. So I trusted that everything was going to be okay. And everything was okay. I woke up the next morning and we could not feel that energy around the property whatsoever. So that's what got me studying the cryptids again. I wanted to know, what was that?
Sure.
I had no idea. And when I started studying Bigfoot, I knew it wasn't Bigfoot. I knew it wasn't Dogman. I'm like, whatever it was, people were telling me they thought it was a skinwalker. Something like that could go from property to property. That's what I was told. I'm still not sure of what it was, but it gave me a lot of confidence that I felt very much protected.
That's pretty amazing. I don't even know what to do with that. Like, I mean, what if it's not a Bigfoot or a Dogman and you know, as far as I understand, most skinwalker situations, they don't usually target non-native people.
Well, it's interesting because my friend was native. Where I was staying at her house, she's native. She has the native in her. I still to this day don't really know what it was. I'm just glad that I was able to handle the situation, because when something like that comes up, as you probably know in your experiences, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, whoa, I've never really felt this. Most of my experiences have been really positive experiences. I've only had a couple negative, and in each of those experiences, I was able to handle it. And I think it comes from maybe past lives or a connection and understanding, because it was always there. It was always there, if that makes sense.
Sure. Well, being raised with it, with that gift. I mean, it's something I only dreamed about when I was a kid. I mean, even though I didn't know it at the time, I was experiencing things. Now that I look back at my childhood, I'm like, that's what that was. You know,
Yeah.
I remember that. So I didn't realize this stuff until later on, like within the past 2 years of what's kind of been going on in my life. I wish I knew what to do with it, but you know.
I think a lot of it is trusting yourself and trusting and really going inside and understanding that and trusting it. Because I think the more you trust it and bring it out, because sometimes I don't always know what's going on. It's like one step at a time. And once I take this step, then I'm instructed, go here or go there or go. It's so sometimes it's like that. And that's, I think, where the trusting really, really comes in, you know, the trusting. But now another experience that I had that was kind of wild, and I would think that this is more dealing within the fourth dimension realm. I moved to Pittsburgh. I presently live in the Michigan area, but I had moved to Michigan, or I moved to Pittsburgh, and I was there for about 10 years, and I was living in a haunted apartment, and I didn't really know it at that time. So I went to bed one night, and I could see these two people that were older. They were like, grandma and grandpa, and they were like above me. And I'm like, so who are you guys? And like, what's up? And they didn't really say anything, but the woman took off. And the next time I just only saw him. Well, one night I was laying in bed. I had just gotten a kitten, and I had her like in the folds of my arm. And I was just playing with her while I fell asleep, and I had a candle on, but I had the candle in a dish. But before I knew it, my dresser was on fire. I woke up to flames, and I went, holy moly. And the weirdest thing is I had just washed the wood floor in my bedroom, but I didn't empty the bucket. And otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get through the doorway to get to the bathroom to get water.
Sure.
So it was just amazing that there was a bucket there. So I put the fire out, and I'm like, and it wasn't, huge, obviously. And I'm like, what is going on here? There is something spooky here that I do not like whatsoever. So I tuned in, and this gentleman, it was the same one that appeared above me, was informing me that he wanted me to be on the other side with him, and that he was going to do everything in his power to make sure I died in that fire. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? So I actually called one of my friends back in Michigan, talked to him about it, and we were able to just move him forward. And he never bothered me again. My next experience in that apartment was quite bizarre. I was sleeping one night, and I woke up because I felt like something bouncing off my aura. I don't know how to explain. It was like a vibration, but it was bouncing off of me. Pardon me. And I'm like, okay, what's this about? So I go up into my third eye. I'm still have my eyes closed. I'm sleeping. And I see a jellyfish that is all lit up, shooting energy balls, trying to get through my aura. Yeah, very bizarre. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought it was so bizarre to see this jellyfish, and it was all lit up, and it just kept shooting these energy balls at me. And I'm like, ho, 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 hold on. I'm like, I was like, is this really happening? And this thing, and there was, by this time, I'm surrounded by like 4 of them. And I'm like, gentlemen, you want to play? So I started making my own energy balls. And I started whipping them at them. Bye-bye. See you later. Never again. And they never came back in. They left. I don't know how I knew to make my own energy balls and start whipping. It was like a snowball fight. You're going down with my pink snowball. And I was throwing love at them because I'm like, look, I don't need you getting into my aura. I don't need you getting into my space, but I'm going to send you away with love. So I made all the snowballs pink for love.
Wow.
I know. And I never experienced those guys again. Never did.
Well, you put your foot down or something like that.
Right?
I'm just baffled with all this. You know, I wasn't sure what to expect, and now I'm just like speechless. Oh, it's just because I just can't imagine some of the things that you do, like just this whole thing with jellyfish and creating lightning balls. It's, to me, it's like a video game or something. It just sounds so surreal.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating, you know, and I believe you 100%. Because I have dealt with, I know it's, you know, there are some weird things out there that I've dealt with, but they were all good things that I've, you know, experienced, and except once, something just scared the hell out of me. But yeah, I'm just fascinated, and like the psychic part is what really kind of always piqued my curiosity, and something I want to explore, you know. I know of a woman that she does psychic teaching and stuff over in Sedona. I might check it out. I'm really curious about this.
I think you should. And I think you're probably much more psychic than you're giving yourself credit for, you know?
I don't know. There's been, I don't know what to do with it though. I mean, I try and test it or experiment but it takes two. Like the one experience I did have with someone who was a sensitive, and we could send messages back and forth, believe it or not. And it was it was bizarre. I mean, but it happened. Yes.
I have a good story about that. A couple years ago, and I have a friend here. Her name's Terry, and we refer to ourselves as Lucy and Ethel because when we go out, we like to have a great time. We get kind of wild. We have fun. So she was a nurse, training to be a nurse, and what had happened the night before, I had a huge crystal, just a huge crystal fall on my foot, where the crystal went into my foot, and it was my own fault. I pulled something off of the shelf it was on and didn't know it was on top of it. Well, it landed on my foot, and it was it must weigh at least 15, 16 pounds.
That's a lot of weight.
It was bad. I'm a little girl, and I'm like, oh my God. So I took care of it, and I soaked it in ice because I learned from some athletes that I'd worked with, no matter what happened, she put it right in ice first thing. So I did. I soaked it all night. Well, I woke up and it was totally black. And I'm like, this is not good. This is not good. So I hobbled downstairs, sat on my couch, and in my mind, I was like, Terry, I don't know what you're doing or where you are, but I need you, and I need you now because I don't know what's going to happen here. Within the matter of 3 minutes, my phone rings, and she's like, TT, what's wrong? What is going on? I'm on my workout bike, and I heard you call me. What is going on? And I'm like, oh, thank God. Can you come over? I think I broke my foot. And she did. And it's been like that with her and I for ever since I've known her. I can say something to her in my mind and vice versa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was with me and this other person, and it was interesting. Weird stuff would happen every day, you know. Um, and then when we actually tested it, like 4 different times, it worked. Just she'd send me something, and I'd guess what it was, and I was right, and it was just some crazy stuff.
See?
Yeah, we're not friends anymore, but the experience was really cool. I know there's something going on with that, so I'll figure it out. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, you can always practice with us. There's a bunch of psychics out there.
Oh yeah, I know, and that's why I wanted you on. I love these stories. I don't know if anybody in chat. I haven't been paying that close of attention to chat, guys. I apologize. If anybody has questions, feel free to ask. Let me just scroll back.
Hi, Pam. Hi, Ness. Hi, Bomber.
Okay, here you go. Question for GM. Does a high-pitched noises in your ear anything to do with spirits talking to me? That's from Hilton Widowwood.
In my experience, you could be tuning into different frequencies out there. Sometimes it's not all spirit. Sometimes it's just the outside interference of the cell phone towers and whatnot. But I have had, there's a certain frequency I get in my ear when I know my guides want my attention. If they don't smack me in the back of the head first. Really, I'm going to be honest. I mean,
that's awesome. The Gibbs slap.
Yeah. Hey.
If you ever watch NCIS, it's Mark Harmon always was smacking the guy in the back of the head. So he just called it the Gibbs smack.
The Gibbs smack.
I don't know. Did Albert Trent Jr., did you ever pursue the Jack the Ripper theory that he came to America?
No, I didn't pursue that theory. However, I did pursue where my connection was in all of that. And it wasn't until I got back to the United States after that experience that maybe 5 years later, it was unfolded to me. I had saw a Jack the Ripper special. And it was a documentary, and I knew it wasn't the truth. Well, then all of a sudden it hit me that I worked in the hospital with him. He was a doctor, and he actually killed me. That's why I got so sick on that street. And I went, oh my God, then it all made sense. But I knew what they were trying to, I said, this man was a doctor. He worked in a hospital. And I actually knew him in that hospital. That life came back to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to be able to relive a past life. I mean,
remember, I was killed in that past life.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we all died in the past lives.
I was brutally murdered, and it was because I was onto him, and I knew who he was and what he was doing, and he knew it.
But even in a past life, you're famous, like you were murdered by Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
So that's kind of been, in the past year, I have had a couple of visitations that have been life-saving, if that makes sense.
Say that again. Oh, I'm sorry.
In the past couple of years, I've always had visitations from either angels, dead relatives. A couple of my friends have been murdered throughout the years, and they have come to me to tell me what happened to them. And at first I was kind of afraid of that, but I got used to it. And one of my friends, I was really, really good friends with her, and she was actually shot and killed in Detroit. And I know, right? She didn't live down there. It just kind of happened. And I was in shock. And within the first day, she came to me and she told me what had happened. And a little bit at a time, because she knew I really couldn't handle it. So that was always a comfort, that if a really good friend did pass over, they would usually come to me because they knew I could communicate with them. And I had 2 experiences last year that both blew me away, that I did not expect. I've had it from people that I usually know, but I had a visitation last year from somebody I didn't know, that was quite, I would have to say, quite impactful, that it changed my life. So I've never really spoken about these 2 visitations. This will be the first time I'm telling.
Oh, thank you so much for
the
sharing.
world, you know, if that makes sense, because they were both very, well, they were both very sacred and dear, which I didn't expect. This is about this time last year, and I was contemplating going to a it was a workshop. It was a like a life-changing type of thing. It wasn't too far from me. I knew these people from 5 years ago, really great people. Had a good experience with them before, but I kept dragging my feet. I kept dragging my feet. And I was at one of my clients' houses, and I've known him for a really, really long time, his family. He says to me, "Hey, did you get into that new documentary about JFK?" And I said, "I didn't know there was a new one." He said, "Yeah, there's a new one out." He said, "You might want to watch it," because we both like documentaries. So I'm on my way home and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I really wonder what happened to JFK. I wonder really who killed him. I started just thinking about things in my head. Didn't really think too much of it. I went to bed. Now I'm about 2-3 days away from going to this event, workshop. And I still hadn't made up my mind. But I knew that it was going to be essential for me to go on in a healthy manner in life. So I'm just sitting here. I was in my living room. I was actually doing some paperwork. And all of a sudden, I feel this heavy presence, a big presence in my living room. And I look up, and it's JFK. And I looked at him. I know I might cry when I tell you both of the experiences, because they were just so impactful in my life. And I looked at him and I said, "Are you the former president JFK?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "What are you doing in my living room?" I'm like, what? Like, I was like floored. And he was very formal, like he was, I believe, when he was here. And he said, "You want to know what happened to me? You really want to know exactly what happened to me?" I said, "I do." He said, "Get on YouTube." He showed me a video to watch. He said, "This video is 98% on." It was a 9-hour video. And he says to me, "You watch that video and I'll see you tomorrow." And I'm sitting here going, what the, are you kidding me? Like, did this really happen? So I did. I stayed up all night long and I watched that video, and I understood exactly, because I had an idea in my mind and it was a lot of really confirmation. And so I'm like, wow, this is a good video. Didn't really think that much of it. So the next day he shows up again in my living room. And he said, "You watched the video?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "What do you think?" I said, "Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Everything makes perfect sense." So I said to him, "You know, Mr. President, I don't know what to call you." I called him dude a couple times. What are you doing in my living room? You're like,
that's what I would do. Dude, what are you doing, man? Take your
He
shoes
thought it was kind of funny. He thought it was funny. I'm like, excuse me for calling you dude, because he was so formal.
off. Yeah.
So I said, you know, with all due respect, sir, what are you doing in my living room and what are you coming to me for? And he says to me, you've been through an extremely difficult time. You are so depressed that you need to go to that workshop. It is going to change your life. But that's how depressed Bobby was after I was assassinated. And I want you to watch a couple videos about how Bobby got back on track. And so I did. And I saw the depression in Bobby and how Bobby got himself, of course, put back on track to only be assassinated. But it really moved me. And I said, do we know each other? And he said, yes. He said, we need your light to shine on the planet. And I'm here to make sure that your light is to continue, because your light could have been put out like mine and Bobby's very easily. He said, but I'm here to push you forward. And I was like, I just cried. I cried my eyes out. I cried my eyes out. It was just amazing.
That's some, you know, when the former president of the United States comes to you, that's, you know, and because I think you put that much thought into it just a few days before, you know, you were really,
yeah. And my client brought it up, and it's like, how do I seek the truth? And yeah, it was a very life-changing experience. It was actually amazing. I still shake a little bit when I think about it because it was just beautiful and it makes me cry. So I ended up going and just had the best time of my life. And it put me so back on track, gave me such a different perspective of life because I had been through such a very rough period. Very, very, that I didn't even really want to be on the planet. As a matter of fact, one night I was having such bad heart palpitations. I thought to myself, kick ass, this is how I get off this planet. I get to go home. I thought, because I didn't really want to be
not
here.
So quick.
Right? So I'm falling asleep thinking I'm leaving the planet because I'm seeing all these lights around me. I'm like, finally, you're here to take me home. When I woke up the next morning, I was really pissed that I was still here. That's how bad I was. And then with JFK coming in, me going to that workshop and me actually finding myself again and getting into my true essence and looking at things in a very, very different perspective, I turned around completely as a person. Completely. So it was a very much a life-changing experience. The other person that came in probably about 3 months after I was home from that retreat and in my flow, somebody that's totally opposite from JFK, but it was kind of the same thing. I was sitting in my living room and I was contemplating the betrayal that had taken place in my family that I was so upset at. The betrayal. Well, all of a sudden, didn't know this man, didn't like his music, didn't like him when he was on the earth whatsoever. But Tupac Shakur jumps in my living room. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I like looked, I'm like, are you really Tupac? You know, you check that energy before you. And he's like, of course, yeah, it's me, it's Tupac. And I said, what? I'm like, I don't even like you. I didn't like you when you were on the earth. I didn't really like your music. What are you doing in my living room? He's like, you want to talk about betrayal? We'll talk about betrayal. And this man sat with me for over 14 hours and told me things that were unbelievable. He's been off the planet now for like 25 years. This man is a spiritual master. And he was the most comforting person I have. It was unbelievable, the connection. And so he would come back and forth. As I would progress and feel better, he'd come back and forth. He told me the whole history about his planet, about his family. He told me everything he's been up to since he left the earth. He told me he actually wanted me to start channeling him. He popped in recently. I said, I don't think this is a good time for me to start channeling you. Okay. You know what I mean? Don't ask me to be going downtown Detroit and be channeling you. Yeah, still quite the sense of humor. But this is another instance of an entity on the other side. And I asked him, I said, why would you even come to me? And he said, we used to play music together in past lives. He said, we know each other very well. Very, very well. And he had channeled a lot of information. I channeled a lot of information through him. And very interesting person. Very interesting. I consider him to be one of my best friends now, if that makes sense. He doesn't come as often. I don't really see him because there's really nothing for him to do right now. But he showed up not too long ago with a couple of his buddies from that rap scene that had also passed. And they were all waving to me from like far away. And he was telling them, that's the one I talked to. I talk to her all the time. And at that time, he had told me, or he had showed me a picture. And I didn't know what I was seeing at the time because you got all these little short guys. And then there was one tall guy and his head was above the clouds. And I'm like, who is that? I didn't know who it was. But then I realized later it was Kobe Bryant. It was right before Kobe Bryant passed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just that inside track that you have is like to the other side is just amazing.
It's been getting stronger and stronger since I've been trusting it and since I've been going with it. Because at first you think you're crazy. You know, you're like, well, like I'm hearing this conversation in my head. Well, who am I talking to? What's going on? What are you trying to tell me? And the more you trust it, and I keep a lot of protection around me too. You know, I keep that threshold where it's like, you know, I don't want to be playing with, you know, any monkey business. I'd rather just be playing with getting really good messages and stuff.
I get that voice in my head occasionally. And usually I pay attention to it. And it's funny. I think you had sent me a friend request on Facebook. And I'm looking at the picture. I'm looking at the name. And I'm like, I don't know this person. But I do know this person. And I'm like, okay, why do I know this person? And a little voice in my head goes, that's Gemini. I'm like, oh, okay. No kidding. I was like, oh, okay.
Yes.
And I pushed, you know, accept. And as soon as I hit the accept button, you know, for the friend request, ding, this message comes up and it's you going, hey, Mogs, it's Gem. Just wanted to let you know that it's me. And I'm like, whoa. And I told you the story when it happened at the time. Yeah, that was that little voice. I've heard that voice many times where it's made me turn around in my tracks and go the other way or do things that normally I wouldn't, but I listen to that little voice, you know?
Yes. Yes. So one of my more magical places that I love to go here in Michigan is Lake Huron, one of the Great Lakes. And it's not too far from me. It's about 45 minutes away. But when I go up, and I think this is the best way to show Michigan, I go up to here, the top of the thumb. Okay. Lake Huron surrounds it. So this was a couple of years ago when I was still in a Great Depression. And I went up there with a friend. It's just beautiful. Well, all of a sudden, all this stuff just starts coming in. And I can feel energy here, energy there, but I haven't placed anything yet. I'm laying at the pool, and all of a sudden I hear drums beating, like Native American drums starting to beat, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And I'm like, oh, something's going on. I get up and I look, and there's nothing. Nothing. And I'm like, okay, this is so bizarre. So I shut my eyes and it happens again. Well, this time I look out onto the lake and I see this, I don't know what to call it, an image of a spirit, a face. And I look at him, I'm like, hey, are you the one doing the drums? And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to get your attention. And I'm like, who are you? What are you doing? You know, this is my first question to them all. Like, what are you doing? Why are you coming? And he says, I am the great spirit of the Great Lakes, and I protect these waters. And I'm like, really? And he said, they call me Wonkin Tonkin. And I'm like, I've never heard that term. Never heard the term before, but I had to go and then look it up. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. He said, you are very much native to this land. You spent a lot of time on this land. And I said, well, God, it feels so great up here. And he says to me, though these waters you know very well. And he said, but you came here for the healing. And I said, I think I did. And he said, I want you to go to the beach and I want you to stick your feet in the sand. And I want you to let the breeze go through the top of your head and you're going to blow out all those negative vibrations, all those, all that whole bad situation. You're going to blow it out. I'm like, okay. So we do that for about 20 minutes. And then he says to me, hey, you want to go on a little treasure hunt? And I'm like, okay, like, what do you mean? He said, I'm going to show you some very sacred places around this land that I know you don't know about. Because at that point in time, I had studied nothing up there. I knew nothing about anything except I liked that lake and it was very peaceful and quiet up there. So he sends me, he said, you're going to come across this place called White Rock. And you need to go find White Rock first. So I say to my friend, I said, look, I just talked to this spirit here in the sky. Okay. First, we have to go to the beach. We have to do this little thing. And then we got to go find this White Rock. I don't even know if this White Rock exists. Let's just get on the road. I find the White Rock. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. Then he sends me to a haunted lighthouse. So I go to the haunted lighthouse. And this is all, and so he said, I went on this little, and I was like, that was so great. And I'm like, I can't wait to come up here and connect up with you again. It has just been phenomenal. And he says to me, you're not that far. Your lake connects into my lake. That's how you can connect in. He said, there's so many things here for you. If you come up, you'll start to see them. And so I've been spending a lot of time up there. When I say to you guys in the chat, hey, I'm going to the beach, that's where I go.
Oh,
and it's
awesome.
So sacred. So the last time I was sitting on the beach, I could kind of see the northern lights kind of poking through a little bit. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I really wanted to see like the middle of the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. Well, I was there with a friend. And we had a little bit of a fire, and I told her, hey, let's put this fire out because I can just feel so much around us. Within a matter of doing that, a second getting that fire out, both of us saw it. There's like a horse that went flying across the lake. It looked like Pegasus, and he was all lit up in white. And she looked at me and she goes, did you see that? And I'm like, what? Pegasus just flew in front of us? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, wow, that was wild. I said, that was cool. It was very cool. I'm like, that was wild. So I lay down because I want to kind of connect up with this energy. And all of a sudden I see Wonkin Tonkin's face in my head. And I'm like, oh, dude, you're here. You're here. And he's like, of course I am. So before I get up and even open my eyes, I tell my friend, Lisa, I'm like, Lisa, that Wonkin Tonkin is here, that great spirit. I want to communicate with him. She's like, yeah, I know. I said, how do you know? She said, he's right there. And she pointed out her finger to the sky, and his whole face illuminated right in front of us. It was just beautiful.
Huh. It's strange that she saw him as well.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, she wasn't at all sensitive or anything. She just,
No, she's a sensitive, but she had
okay.
never seen him before, and she'd heard me talk about him. And you know what I mean? And she
Sure.
was just amazed. She's like, oh my God, he's huge. I'm like, right? He's watching the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are huge. He's got to be huge. You know?
It's a good deduction.
Right?
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go up to the Thousand Islands up in New York State on the St. Lawrence River. When I was a kid, we used to go up there and go fishing. And then like the mouth of Lake Ontario, but I never really got into fishing the Great Lakes, but I was always in like the upstream, the Thousand Islands. And then we go into Ontario and fish there for a couple of years. But yeah, I love that area up there. It's just beautiful.
Isn't it? It's beautiful. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions or?
Let's see. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions for Gemini, please feel free to send them. You guys know how this works. All right. Nessie Monster says, oops. Sorry.
I know, because we know Nessie. We don't know how to answer that.
That wasn't her. But that's funny as hell. Oh, shit.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so Ness, what I do is I've done it ever since I was a kid. I always felt the angels around me. So I always will put like Archangel Michael in front of me and Archangel Gabriel to the side, Raphael in back of me. And it's amazing because I got this huge seraphim that hangs with me too. And one time I kind of saw him in my third eye. I only saw his wings at the bottom. He was just huge. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing here with me? And he said, I know you're afraid to walk the earth sometimes. He said, so I'm here to like push you forward. So I kind of call on the archangels, my guides and my teachers. But most of it, I just kind of get into my own power. Knowing I've been here so many times and dealt with so many different elements on the planet, I almost feel I'm just pulling from past lives.
Sure.
On that knowledge,
What else?
That is my protection, Nessie. That's so funny. I just read something she put in the chat.
I'm trying to find it. I put it up by accident and went to take it down, but then I realized what it said, and it was just funny.
Okay, so Hoosier says, was I born into this? I would assume yes. Was it prevalent within my immediate family? No, but my mom has always been kind of psychic. And on my dad's side of the family was the healer. My my grandmother, my dad's father, was a tremendous healer. But at that time, she couldn't practice it. So she'd just say, come here and let grandma put her hand on your tummy. If your tummy's not. And I remember every time she put her hand on me, I was healed. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized. And then I realized the genealogy coming from both sides. Because I asked my guides and teachers all the time, why am I in this family? Like, what is up with this shit? And I do have a decent family. I hate to say it, but I couldn't understand. And they told me I chose it because of the psychic on my mom's side and the healing on my dad's side. I wanted to come in with both those gifts.
Right on. I would love, like I said, I'm still like dumbfounded with some of this stuff because I've
Right?
had some weird experiences and I thought they were weird, but then I listened to you and mine were nothing. Some things moved and, a spirit made an appearance.
Well, what was really cool is my friend Terry came over. She always pops over. And one time she comes out of my bathroom and I'm like, what? She goes, Teresa, Tupac's in the bathroom. I can see him. I said, you can see Tupac in my house? And she's like, he's right there. And I'm like, I was so grateful that she got to see him. You know what I mean?
Wow. Proof. Well, so it's good. Well, she saw her. She saw him in there.
And he did tell me, and it was amazing. He's like, you will like some of my music. Let me lead you to some of the songs I think you'll really, really like. And he actually was teaching me how to dance. I said, look, I need somebody to teach me to have some soul. He's like, all right, I'm going to teach you how to dance. So I let him enter into my body and he showed me how to dance. I was like, dude, you are good.
That's great.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That is amazing. I wish I could do any of that. Let's see what else. Let's see what Bomber has to say. Will you tell us about the distance healing you do?
I will. Bomber got to experience that one night when she had a headache a while ago. After I went to this retreat that I had gone to, my life-changing retreat, I met so many conscious people, very high level. They worked on me on clearing out a lot of energy. So I've been working with people on Skype to clear out stuff that they're ready to clear out. You can't clear it out unless you work through it and it's time to go. But I've been able to help people to get rid of some maybe family stuff that's been hanging on. Sometimes I can go in and see like chains on somebody's feet. Well, then I have to go back to the point of origination and help them try and release it energetically. So it's amazing because my clients are massage clients and, I've always talked this way with them. Well, then I came home and started really practicing this stuff. And it's really actually impacted quite a few people. I didn't realize it. People have been coming back and saying, hey, will you do another session on me? And I'm like, okay. So this whole thing's just kind of developing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's, it's different. It's what do they call it? Alternative,
Yeah.
And I really, being where I'm at, I mean, there's a lot of new age stuff in Sedona, which is just up the street from me. And I experience a lot of different people in that town. Excuse me for a second. Sorry. Psychics and healers, and you can go in one shop and buy crystals, and there's just so many things that you can do, and I walk by every day and I'm like, I don't know what to do with any of it. I think it was Don Longbeard who told me some rocks to get for the power, different powers, you just carry it around in your pocket, and I forget what they were, but I have them written down somewhere. But I want to start, working on building that just, I guess, energy. I don't know what to call it. Lately,
you want to say maybe opening that channel more?
That's
Yeah.
better. Yeah. I wasn't sure how to word it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fascinating to me more than anything, just because I've experienced some things and I don't know what to do with it.
I think you should talk about some of your experiences, Mog.
I've told them before. I mean, I've told stories on Paranormal Portal, and my first one was the day my mother died back in 1993. She was living in Peoria, Illinois at the time. And we being my sister and I were still back in Jersey. And we had, found out she had cancer. And we got the call from my sister, who was also in Illinois at the time, and said that mommy's not doing good. You guys should come out there. So we went out there, and I think by the second night we were there, the first night we got there, we went and said our goodbyes, and she wasn't coherent. I know she could hear us. She couldn't necessarily respond, but I knew she could hear us. So, we just told her, it's okay, Mom. It's time to go home. It's all right. We'll be okay. But I guess we gave her permission, not that she needed it, but to make her feel better when she, passed. So we gave her permission and said our goodbyes and our I love yous, and we left. And then the next night, I didn't get there. My sister went, and it was the first night that anybody had stayed with her, and overnight. And about 5:20 in the morning, my sister gets up and she goes to get coffee. And in the time it took her to go get coffee and come back, my mom passed away. So, yeah. So we know that my mom knew she left the room. She didn't want to die with her in the room. Mm-hmm. And she waited till then. So my sister called us and told us, hey, mommy passed away. And I was just like, thank God, because she wasn't suffering anymore. And
yeah.
So that night, once it's the Midwest, somebody passes away and you're involved with the church, people show up at your house and bring food. Well, that's what happened here. And I was just getting tired of this food. And there's a joke that some people are going to comment because everything's made with Miracle Whip, it seems, in the Midwest. And I can't stand Miracle Whip. I'll hear it from people, but whatever. So I say to my sister, hey, I said, you know what? Let's just go out. Let's get out of here for a while. So we go out and we're heading out to this. We're going to go to this restaurant. But as we're moving, as we leave, this storm is coming in, and it was the most intense thunderstorm I'd ever seen. I have to go back to like when I was a kid. When we were kids growing up on the Jersey Shore in the 70s, it was like whenever a storm came through, the lights would go out. And we loved that because we'd sit around with candles and in the dark and play Monopoly or, whatever. And so we always loved when the lights went out. So lightning was our big thing growing up. We loved it. Yeah. So seeing this storm coming in, and we're like, the lightning was amazing. It was just nonstop strobe lightning. And we looked at each other and we're like, this is mommy. And my sister's like, yeah, it is. So we go to the restaurant. We have a really good meal. And then afterwards we go to this bar just to unwind a little bit. And we get to the bar, and at the bar, some bars in the Midwest have, they call it shake a day, or it's a little dice cup, like with, 5 dice in it. And it's similar to like playing Yahtzee, where depending on what you roll, for a quarter, you give the bartender a quarter, you get to roll the cup. You could win a drink, a 6-pack, money, free roll, all different things. So storm's still raging on. I give the bartender my quarter and I roll, and I win a 6-pack. I give it to my sister and she rolls, and it's a free roll. So she rolls again and she gets a free roll. So now on a third roll, she rolls again and she gets a 6-pack. Now I look up at the bartender. I'm like, how often does that happen? It doesn't.
No.
So, okay. I look at my sister, and my sister's like, huh. I said, Pam, you listen to the song on the jukebox. It's AC/DC. Have a drink on me.
Oh. That's a great story. I love that.
Yeah. And then that was in 93. So fast forward to 2010. I'm in Arizona. I'm going to this bar to check out their karaoke system. It's during the day. They have this old system. I'm going to go work on, see if I can get it up and running. And I pull out the equipment and I start talking to the cook. And we're talking about tattoos, and because he's got a bunch of them. And I said, well, I just got one here, and then I got a lightning bolt down to my ankle in honor of my mom. And I proceeded to tell him the story that I just told you that ends with "have a drink on me." And he was like, oh, dude, that's so cool. And he's like, I got goosebumps. And he's like, well, listen, that was a cool story, but I got to go. So he leaves. It's me and the bartender. The day that I was there, it was June 27th, 2010. June 27th was my parents' original wedding anniversary. Whenever there's an anniversary party or whatever, when I talk to my mom, I go outside and I talk out loud,
Yeah.
Hey mom, missed you, love you. So I go outside after this, I just tell this story, and I go out there and I have a cigarette and I said, hey mom, happy anniversary, blah, 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 miss you, love you. And then all of a sudden I got this weird feeling of doubt. And just before I walked in, I said, I hope everything that I've been believing in all these years isn't bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I've believed hard in what I believed in things that have happened. So I said, I hope everything isn't bullshit. With this, I open a door. I walk into the bar. I go over and I grab my pint glass. It's empty. Now, when I got to the bar, I had changed this station in the back. It's the satellite radio. And apparently, I guess the satellite radio and the karaoke system must have been going through the same amplifier, because the amplifier, I think, was overheating, because all of a sudden the music would be fine and then it would go away. You wouldn't hear anything. It would get really low. So I'm not paying attention. When I come into the bar, I grab the pint glass. I walk over to the bar. The bartender's, do you want another one? I said, sure. I put the glass on the bar, and I wasn't paying attention, but the music was dead. It was low. As soon as that cup hit the bar, the music got really loud. And behind the bar, there were 3 Patron bottles, tequila bottles. Well, one of those, they all have corks in them. Well, the first Patron bottle shoots the cork straight up. And it was, the glass hit the bar, the music and the cork go up at the same time, and the bartender turns white. And I couldn't help it. I just started laughing because I knew what was going on. And she's like, what the hell's going on? I said, I guess my mom doesn't want me to have another beer. And I had to explain what I just told, the story I just told the chef. And I said to her, I said, but listen to the song that's on the jukebox or on the radio, the satellite radio. And because it got really loud. The song is called So Do You Believe Me Now?
Oh my God. Right? There you go.
Yeah. I had just doubted it minutes, seconds before, and it was just thrown at me and said, boom, now you believe me,
Yeah.
and it was perfect. It was really crazy.
That is perfect. Those are great stories.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But that's the experience of the really odd stuff. I mean, one time I was living in a house that a violent crime had occurred. People were violently murdered in it. And I did see one of their orbs come out of the bathroom one night. Just a blue orb came out of the bathroom because I heard the people's dog was there, and I said something to the dog because I was sleeping. I moved in and I was sleeping in the master bedroom in their bed, people that were killed. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I heard this dog and I was like, knock it off, because I was sleeping, and then I looked up, and out of the bathroom came this blue orb right in front of the bed, and then just faded away, and it was gone. And it didn't freak me out. I was just like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
And I rolled over and went back to sleep. But downstairs, directly below this room, is a living room. And one night, I felt a presence in that room, or something that scared the shit out of me. I've never been so scared in my life. It was a primal fear that I felt
Yeah.
from something in that room. And I got so scared that I got pissed off. Yeah. And I started yelling at nothing. I mean, I was like, come on, like all tough guy to nothing.
Yeah.
That's how scared I was. I was so scared that I got pissed off.
Yeah. That's good though.
Yeah, that's when I'm like, oh, great. I could see, me being in the woods and actually running into a Bigfoot. I'll just start mouthing off to it. I could get so scared.
I know that's true. And it does. It helps when you have very supportive friends. My friend Lynn that I was telling you about in Ohio, this woman is amazing. I mean, I'd love for you to get her on the show, but she's just not a public person. But to be able to share those experiences and say, okay, I'm going to tell you this, and that person knows that you're not crazy because they've had that same experience. I have a lot of those people in my life. And I feel very blessed to have those people that I can talk to about a lot of these experiences.
That's
That
awesome.
helps. So that's what I say is maybe you need a little bit of a network around you. You know what I mean?
I just don't know where to start. I'm getting that echo again. Like I can hear it somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from. That's weird. I don't know if I got to identify what I'm trying to do, or just get more spiritual, or I don't know where I should start with any of this,
I think it's just starting by listening to yourself, taking those couple of deep breaths and just being quiet. I call it connecting up with my higher self, but that's what it is. And then I feel like anything that anybody wants to tell me from the other side, then they can come through and do it. You know what I mean? But it's more just kind of being quiet within your side of yourself and listening to, instead of that outside world, what's going on in your heart. When I listen to my heart, it leads me to my higher mind, which leads me to my higher self.
Okay.
If I don't do that, then I go down to my ego and I act
Different.
the programming. So when I stay in my higher self, I'm like, oh, yay, I love this person. When I slip down into my ego, I can always feel it. So then I kind of center and balance myself. And I've been helping. That's what I kind of did with Bomber when I was to help to bring her true self back into her body existing on this planet. And when you can do that, that's when I think that you have all your gifts. That's where that other stranded DNA opens up and all the different things that we can really do.
Oh, I might have to look into something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk offline. We'll get together.
Definitely. I got a package today. I had ordered this, and I'm gonna do a little. See these guys doing reveals all the time. So open this. I'm just a barbarian. I ripped it apart.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, I like my coffee, and I figured, you know what, you should support,
Oh, yeah.
these channels, these other channels. I think it's important. Like they were giving some stuff away the other day if you got the correct number and stuff, or no, you had to answer questions. I bypassed the answers and I just bought one.
Nice.
So yeah, paranormal portal mug.
Nice.
any channel you guys listen to, if could be any of your channels, support them, buy a t-shirt or other merchandise, just show your support. I don't have merchandise, probably never will. But yeah, I think I'm gonna start a thing with the other channels. If they send me a t-shirt, I'll promote it on my show. I'll just wear it on my show,
Yes.
a show whenever. But yeah, if you guys hold on, there you go. What is the best way for people to reach you online?
To meet you. Bomber, you're so funny. Well, I kind of keep myself kind of scarce. I don't know why. I always kind of under the radar, but it probably would be through my Facebook, and I can give you, I think on my Facebook, and I don't know if I can do this. Can I put my Gemini Moon name? Because that's really what I go by now all the time. I don't really even use my given name.
Do you have a page for see, I did a page with Facebook for it was called Mogi on Monsters, and somebody complained and they took it down, and the stuff's still there. I have to change the name if I want to keep it.
Yeah.
So you got to watch that, because I'm called Moog every day, but they don't
exactly.
They don't acknowledge that. What else? Well, guys, if you don't have any more questions, well, it's been about an hour and 15 minutes. Hang on. After the show, we'll do let me just say goodnight to everybody. You can say goodnight, and guys, please, thank you so much for watching this tonight. And if you liked it, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Leave comments. Jim, you've been an awesome guest. I've wanted to do this for a long time. Really, I did. I wanted to talk to you for a long time. And then I got you on, and you just blew me away. And I was like, didn't know what to say.
Well, no, thanks for having me on. And I love all the people in the chat room. It's great because that one experience that entity wanted to rip my blanking head off is really what led me to all you guys and meeting all you guys. So I'm so grateful that I had that experience,
Sure.
Yeah.
As bizarre as that is, that's.
Yes.
I don't know if I really want to get into this now. I had some telepathy things go on, and now I want to maybe not.
Okay.
We'll see.
Whatever you're feeling. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Of course I do. All right, guys. Thanks again. If you guys want to hear your encounters or want to tell your encounters, hit me up at monstermogion@gmail.com. Send your information there, and I'll get in touch with you, and we'll get you on the show. Once again, thanks, guys. All the moderators, Mike, Bomber, Big Rob, Crazy Chris, if you were there tonight, thank you. And Bell Prepper, thank you for doing what you guys are doing for me. Hope everybody behaved. All right, guys. With that, I want to thank you, and we'll see you soon. I don't have anything lined up for Thursday yet, so maybe we'll just wing it again. I mean, that's what we did last Thursday, so we'll see. All right, guys. You guys take care. Jim, again, thank you so much. That was awesome.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to end this. Good night, guys. Peace and God bless.